Welcome to the Wolverine Confidential podcast brought to you by Corewell Health. I am Andrew Kahn.
I'm Ryan Zook.
I'm Aaron McMahon.
Basketball season is underway in Ann Arbor. Both the men's and women's teams dominated their openers. We discuss what's next for both programs. Plus, Michigan football was off this weekend but busy on the recruiting trail. Who are the newest commits? We share that and more coming up on Wolverine Confidential. Okay, Aaron and Ryan, good to be with you two here on Sunday night, November 9th. No Michigan football game to recap, but we've got plenty else to talk about on today's episode. And let's start with some hoops. Michigan men's basketball season opener was, Monday night, the first night officially of the college basketball season. And it really could not have gone any better. Michigan beat Oakland 121 to 78 at Chrysler Center, setting a program record for points in a season opener. Aaron, I remember you asking me, like, oh, what did I want to see from this team, based on the two exhibitions? And I was like, well, limit the turnovers and let's see how they shoot the three, because, that was maybe a question mark going into the season. Well, they had just 8 turnovers and they shot 19 of 35 from 3-point range. It was just incredible.
I watched most of it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm watching this thing, I'm like, this is an incredible pace to keep up, especially in college basketball and, 20-minute halves and everything. I mean, I don't know, is this sustainable? We saw them doing the exhibition, right? They put up a ton of points, they gave up some points as well, but like, I don't know. Is this going to be the identity of this team this year, you think?
I mean, I think they want to be better defensively, but certainly the pace and the way the ball is shared, yeah, that's the vision. I think they have the depth to do it. I mean, the new guys just looked really good. Morez Johnson Jr., 24 points in 20 minutes. He's a transfer from Illinois. Freshman Trey McKinney, 21 points. He made 6 threes. You really could just go up and down the box score and just kind of point out, pretty much everyone who played looked good in this game. Adai Mara, double with 12 rebounds and 5 blocks to go along with it. Roddy Gale, efficient. Elliot Cadeau, it was 6 or 7. I think it was, 7 of the 8. There was, 8 guys that played, significant minutes in this game. Later in the second half, the bench kind of emptied, but and every one of those guys reached double-digit scoring except Elliot Cadeau, but he had 12 assists and only 1 turnover. So like just everyone was contributing. Just shots were getting blocked and turned into dunks at the other end. Yaxel Lendeborg in his official Michigan debut, 12 points, didn't miss a shot. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, playing basically with one hand because his dominant right hand was wrapped after sustaining an injury in practice. So as far as the opener, again, what more could you ask for? And this Oakland team, if you checked, they then went to Purdue for their next game, number 1 in the country, only lost by 10. So good sign for Michigan, and we'll see even more later in this week when Oakland goes to number 2, Houston. I can't imagine there's been a harder stretch in college basketball history than these 3 games to start a season. But yeah, we'll see how they look against Houston too. But so far, I guess Michigan's win looking even better. And again, that's the only one we have to go on because very strangely, the schedule, they didn't play again. Like this weekend, they don't play again until Tuesday night. So
That is a long stretch. I mean, you would like to probably play again, but I mean, I don't know. Like you mentioned, Campy. Like I think he schedules difficult to begin with. It's a buy game for Oakland, so they can collect some cash. But I think there's a part of him that wants to test his team to see how they fare. But no, that Oakland team. I mean, it's still early, obviously, but it's certainly a good first game for them, given how they played against Oakland played against Purdue. So, I don't know. Well, obviously, we'll know more as the season goes on. But that was certainly a good performance for the first game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Michigan, you're probably wanting to get right back out there and try and carry that momentum into another game. It's like, wait, we got to wait another week, 8 days to play again. Like, come on, like gives you time to. I mean, for the momentum to fade a little bit, but again, it's still you can't ask for anything better to start off a year.
Yeah, they won't have gaps like this really once the season begins. I mean, they do, they get back from Vegas and then it's Thanksgiving and you've got a little bit of a gap there, but that kind of makes sense. And then another one over Christmas. But then you get into Big Ten play and it's just, every few nights you're playing. So again, they do return to the court Tuesday night, Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. They play Wake Forest, 6:30 p.m. tip. Tickets available if you want them. I'll be there. Yeah, Wake Forest 2-0, but two teams ranked in the high 200s, on KenPom, American and Morehead State. Wake Forest 14-point win, then a 16-point win, didn't look great. So, yeah, I expect Michigan to be, favored by maybe double digits in that game and looking to avenge last season's loss to Wake Forest in Greensboro. The Michigan women, they've got 2 games now under their belts, 2-0 after home wins over Canisius by an even bigger margin than the men. They won 100-40. And then an 84-55 win over Harvard today. Mila Holloway, Olivia Olson have been the big scorers so far, but Silas Swords also averaging in double figures. So those are the three key sophomores that are all looking really good. Transfers have looked strong. Ashley Sofilkanich, solid. Kendall Dudley returned to action Sunday. She did not play in the opener. She was back out there off the bench today. But yeah, stepping up in competition for them as well in a big way. Saturday versus Notre Dame in Detroit. That one's in Wayne State's gym. So yeah, I hope to be there as well for that one. I think that's like a 4 or 5 o'clock start for the women. So yeah, with Michigan football, you guys will be there. Yeah, you'll be at Wrigley. Yeah, so I will not be. So yeah, I figure you guys got the game covered. Maybe I try to get some in-person coverage as well with the Michigan women's basketball team. All right, let's talk before we get to football though. Let's talk a little hockey as well, because Michigan played Wisconsin here at home this weekend, and Zook, you weren't around, but I was there. I was there last night. I had 2 friends visiting, 2 high school friends. Well, really just childhood friends. They go way back. And none of us are big hockey people, but I know that it's a great atmosphere, and that was a chance to get them to a Michigan sporting event with no football game. It was an absolute disaster. I mean, the Friday night Michigan wins 7-4, a lot of goals, right, and a win. This one they fall behind early and never really mount any comeback. It's 6-1. This game just dragged on for hours because they reviewed every single thing. I told them there were no fights in college hockey. They were fighting constantly. It was quite the game. And I know, again, Zook, you weren't there to watch it, but I don't know if you have any comments, or I can share more from the game if you want.
No, I mean, I did see that they combined for almost 170 penalty minutes on Saturday, which is a lot. Did you stay for the whole game? Because I think late in the third is when they were handing out 10-minute misconducts like Halloween candy to everyone left on the ice.
We couldn't figure out how it worked. For a moment, we thought there was just going to be like 2-on-1 out there with the goalies. I wasn't really sure how it worked with the penalties. Even a guy who knew way more about hockey seemed a little confused, because the most it got down to, it seemed maybe there was a 4-on-3, but I don't even think it was that. It was interesting, and like how they decided who was getting the majors. It was, again, everyone was pairing off with someone and fighting. And I mean, there was a goal that was disallowed from Michigan where a Michigan player slammed into the goalie, but it looked like he kind of got pushed into him. So I didn't think that that's how it would work. But yeah, that would have made it 3-2. Like, they scored a goal and that would have made it 3-2. But instead they wiped that off. Wisconsin comes right back. Now it's 4-1. And then that kind of extinguished all hope. But I don't know. Maybe that's a common thing. The team that loses the first night is a little more motivated to try to get the split.
Yeah, I mean, especially if both teams, at least on paper, are pretty even. It's. I mean, coaches will say especially in the Big Ten, it is so hard to sweep in that conference just because points are so valuable. The conference is so deep. If you lose that first night, you've got to find a way to win the second night. And it seemed like, yeah, Michigan. It seemed like Friday was just an incredible game, back and forth, 4 lead changes, and Michigan scores with a little over 3 minutes to go to take a 5-4 lead. That scores 2 empty netters. It's like, all right. I mean, that was the first loss Wisconsin had all year. And then to lay an egg like it sounded like happened on Saturday, kind of a disappointing game. But again, you lose 8-1 or 2-1, like it still counts the same. So you did a week to regroup a little bit because it's going to be a tough test for Michigan too, going to Penn State, another top 5 team next week. But yeah, no, it sounded like a wild series at Yost. And yeah, no, it would never get down to 2-on-1 or anything like that. Like offsetting penalties, it's typically 5-on-5. Sometimes it's 4-on-4. But like if it's the same amount of penalties on both sides, they just play like 5-on-5 or 5-on-4, depending on the penalties. So yeah, that would be a lot of ice to cover
Yeah.
for
Sounds like we chose the wrong night to go is the bottom line. But what was the what's their goaltending issue been so far? Has he been good? Because Saturday he was not, especially. I mean, there was it the second goal maybe was it looked like it was almost mishit. It an attempt at a slap shot that wasn't particularly didn't have much velocity on it and still snuck under his glove. So I don't know, maybe just a rough night. Obviously they've been winning, so I have to imagine that was just an off night for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in net he started every game for them, has 2 shutouts, 2.09 goals against average is one of the best in the country. So he's played really well in the games I've seen. But yeah, I mean, it's goaltending's a fickle position. Like everyone has an off night. The best goalies in the world have off nights. And it sounded like, I mean, just overall, even on Friday, it sounded like some goals that he could have stopped. But I mean, that happens. It's a long season. You're not going to have your A game every night. You just want to be as just consistent as you can. And he is a true freshman. It's rare, very rare for a true freshman to come in and be old Mr. Reliable. But I mean, he has an impressive pedigree, and they're going to continue to lean on him because they don't really have any. I mean, he's the clear number one. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back next week.
Look at me giving Zook a sounding board for some hockey talk, being there. I wasn't sitting. I saw where you sit. You're just like along the top, right? Like above where the TV. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting view, right? You're kind of
yeah.
bird's eye.
Yeah, no, it's if it you can really get a a little kink in your neck from if the play's in the other zone for most of a period, it can get really tough on the neck. But for some people, you have rafters in the way. Yeah, it's not the best viewing experience from the press box, but when the building's 100 years old, that's how it's going to be.
Life is beautiful and fragile. We fall. We get tired. And sometimes we get sick. But with Corewell Health, we are also strong. We fight disease. We battle cancer. We come together. We come back. We push forward. When the body breaks, we break through. Corewell Health. We can.
All right, we talked some hoops, we talked some hockey. Let's talk football. Michigan, as we said, did not play this past Saturday. They were off, so their narrow win over Purdue at home is their most recent performance. The college football playoff rankings came out. We can discuss those if we want, but let's first start with the new additions to the program. They got a few commits in recent days. Somebody tell me who they are.
Yeah, Michigan ended a lengthy drought on the recruiting trail in the 2026 class. Get a 3-star linebacker, Aiden Reeder, on Thursday. He recently decommitted from Wisconsin, and I mean it's kind of been going on behind the scenes. Michigan's been working quietly behind the scenes to try and flip him from the Badgers. They offered him in late October. Had him on an official visit for Michigan's win over Purdue on November 2nd. And yeah, he decided to pull the trigger last week. And I mean, he's had a really, really strong senior season, has been a late riser, still only like ranked number 555 overall in the country. But I mean, that's not horrible, about a mid 3-star. So, and it's, it fills a very important position. Michigan only had one linebacker committed at the time, and 3-star Markel Dabney. So they're looking to add there. They're trying to get at least one more. And yeah, this is, considering how late it is in the cycle and how slim pickings things are, not a bad coup for the Wolverines and Brian John Marie. And then yeah, day later they get a legacy commitment. Tommy Froman from Loyola in Chicago area. His dad was a former linebacker for Michigan. His mother played basketball for the Wolverines, so very familiar with the program. He's a project type, an offensive tackle that's going to need to put on a lot of weight when he gets to Ann Arbor. 6'7", but only listed at 250 pounds right now during his senior year. So not surprising for Michigan to take a kind of a project type along the offensive line. They have 3 offensive linemen committed already. They have a pretty a top-rated recruit at tackle already in Malachi Lee from Hawaii. So they were looking to get one more. Might as well take someone that that knows the program, has extra motivation to perform well for the program, and see if you can kind of develop him, because he has the frame to do it. It's just more of working on the technical things and putting some weight on in the weight room too. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out there. But yeah, Michigan up to 24 commits now, 10th, still top 10 in the country. Signing day is less than a month away, so I don't expect many more fireworks for the Wolverines. They're still going to try and add at least another linebacker, probably at least another defensive back, maybe another offensive lineman, potentially a center. But yeah, I don't like last year. This is a time where Michigan landed Bryce Underwood. I don't see any huge gets like that. Maybe potentially in the secondary, but nothing to the caliber of Bryce Underwood, I'd say.
And just for context here, Froman was he flipped from University of Miami in Ohio, just to give you an idea of how much of a project he is. So they're gonna, like Zook said, they're gonna have to put on some weight with him and do some work with him. But given his ties to the university and everything else, obviously he's a natural kid to bring in, right? We'll see if he sees the field when he sees the field, but it'll probably be a little bit of time.
Yeah, I now remember his mom. I mean, she Katie Frauman. She worked here at the University of Michigan too. Up until a year or two ago, she left for to DePaul, which makes sense he's coming then from that area. But I think she was in development fundraising, but in that role, she was at a lot of basketball games. So yeah, chatted with her, and I guess obviously, who knows how much of a role that played in him coming or the dad playing here, but. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have any other Power 4 offers either, so it's type of one of those things. Just like, all right, we have a spot or two open. Let's see what we can do with him, and kind of hope for the best. And I mean, it's always, I feel like it's probably more rewarding too for coaches when they can get these lower rated prospects to pan out and be impact players. Michigan has had some success over the years in developing those types of players into productive players in college, but it's never a sure thing. But even the top rated guys aren't a sure thing either. So
All right. In addition to recruiting news, there was some other stuff as well. The college football playoff rankings came out as we discussed, and yeah, Michigan is number 21 in those rankings, which now is what we're going to be kind of using, right? For the AP poll is, sorry, Aaron, but that's not what's going to be cited anymore. So you got to wait an extra couple days for that. It's every Tuesday you see that. Given where Michigan was in the AP, maybe not shocking where they were. I guess you did have another Big Ten team in Iowa ranked ahead of them at the time. They were not ranked in the AP poll, but does this really matter, or is it basically Michigan takes care of business? They'll find themselves where they want to be. If they don't, they won't.
Yeah, that's just it, right? Like it's kind of a baseline for where they stand. They've got to win out in the playoff at this point. Maybe had they started 14 or 15, they knock off a couple of wins over Northwestern and Maryland. Maybe they jump into close to the top 10, and maybe a close loss to Ohio State would. But that's not the situation right now. As you said, they're 21st. As I point out to people who are always mad at me with my vote in the AP ballot, the college football rankings are the ones that matters. And right now, Michigan, their pathway is carved out. They've got to win out. They win out, they're certainly going to get in there. Ohio State will probably be the number one team for a few more weeks here, barring some crazy upset. Michigan's pathway is clear. They have to win out to get in. And they know that. Players have been talking about that now for a couple of weeks. They know what they have to do. Interestingly enough, given the fact, despite Michigan not playing on Saturday, it would not surprise me if they move up in this week's college football playoff poll. I count 4 teams ahead of them who lost this week. That should certainly help their case. They did move up to 18 in both the AP and the coaches poll this week, so Michigan could certainly find their way into the teens come Tuesday night. But as I pointed out, they got to win these next 3 games for it to really matter.
I mean, in the big picture, the AP rankings might not matter, but here on the Wolverine Confidential podcast, Aaron's rankings matter, and we want to know where you had Michigan this week.
Yeah, I had them 20. I moved up one spot this week. I think I had them 21 last week in line with the AP ballot. I moved up one spot. They moved up 3 in the actual poll, so I'm about where they're at, a little lower than what the AP ballot says. But whatever, it is what it is.
And then another piece of news was Michigan announcing that, yeah, that season opener we're talking about playing in Germany. We're not. We're gonna keep it in Ann Arbor. And there was a statement from athletic director Ward Manuel saying, we explored it, but considering all factors, decided not to. Is there more to this story than what we initially reported, or that were in those statements? Was it just as simple as money?
No, it was simple as money. And I'm going to be clear here in about this whole story. The only reason Michigan has put out statements with regards to this, because I think On3 was playing to report that they're moving the game to Germany. And this goes back to the summer. I think it was Brett McMurphy from On3 got wind that the conversations were happening, and he was about ready to report it. So that prompted Michigan's original statement, if you recall, in late July, coming out and saying that they're considering moving the game over. At that point, Michigan was still in kind of discussion phase about it. They were looking to see how would it work, just from a logistical standpoint, but then how can we, guarantee ourselves that we at least aren't going to lose money in this game. And Ward Manuel's come out since then in public interviews elsewhere, saying as much, right? They were committed to doing this if it guaranteed they wouldn't lose money, and B, ideally they wanted to make some money off of this, because look, every home game lost in Ann Arbor is money down the drain in their eyes. And right now, given the the financial realities of Division I athletics and the athletic department, they need to make money, and so they're choosing to keep this game on campus, which is probably the right move. I remember when word got out over the summer, there were fans unhappy about this, specifically season ticket holders who would lose a game. And look, they're playing Western Michigan, an in-state school. Ideally, you want to play that game in the state of Michigan, so that's what they're going to do. It will still be played on September 5th. Next year, it'll be the home opener, season opener. Jerome Moore will not be on the sideline for it, but it's not going to be played in Germany, as they were at least discussing.
All right. And then, as far as this 2025 season, it continues for Michigan this coming Saturday at Wrigley Field. Really cool. They're playing in a baseball stadium. Again, we'll see how that kind of plays out with just the setup of the field and all that. Be excited to hear your guys' take on that. Northwestern coming off a loss to USC in LA Friday night, 38-17. Things kind of fell apart for them in the second half. They're 5-4 overall and 3-3 in the Big Ten, but like none of their wins, all their wins are against teams that are 3-6 or worse. I looked at like ESPN's like S&P Plus rankings, and their best win is Penn State, and like Penn State's not good. So it's just there's not much there to believe that like Penn State's gonna punch above its weight and win this game. But I'll have this in a story tomorrow, just sort of a first look. But did you see what happened to Northwestern in this game? How they gave up? USC ended up scoring a touchdown after running a fake punt in the second quarter. Aaron's nodding his head, so he saw it. Luke, did you see this?
I saw the replay when they had the punter or the backup quarterback wear the punter number and pick it up. Yeah.
So they send out a reserve quarterback wearing number 80, okay, which is the punter's number. And but no, he was very capable of throwing a pass, and he does. And it was very funny to hear the announcers on the broadcast like, "Ooh, look at this." They didn't realize it. And like, "Look at that arm. Wow." They're like really giving him props for a beautiful spiral. And it's like, well, yeah, he's a quarterback. And it's hard to tell just reading the quotes what Northwestern's coach kind of thought of it. He said like this was not on the roster that we saw, but they did submit it. Apparently it was on the game day roster. Like, learned my lesson. We're going to be checking this with a fine tooth comb now. So as we know, I feel like maybe we've discussed, there's typically in college football team, there's more than 100 guys, so you've got repeat numbers, and yeah, you're allowed to do that. But yeah, this definitely was intentional to have him have the same number as someone that would have been out there to punt the ball.
That was the question I had, whether they had reported the number change to whether it was Northwestern, the Big Ten. I don't know how that process goes, but yeah, as Northwestern's coach pointed out, they've got to do a better job of IDing numbers and double checking rosters, because if that's allowed, then you might see this happen more often. This is the second time now USC's kind of gotten in trouble a little bit with the Big Ten, and I say trouble because the Big Ten actually put out a statement today addressing the situation, not necessarily condemning USC, but I think letting them know, like, hey, like, I think you got around the rule here, but we're paying attention going forward. Because as you recall, when Michigan played them, they decided to play one or two players that were originally ruled out in the pregame player availability report. So
a lot of shady stuff going on in USCville.
Lincoln Riley's bending the rules a little bit out there as much as he can. At the end of USC ended up, as you said, pulling away in the second half. They're clearly the better team.
That's a loophole. That's a loophole with the number thing, because you can't have two guys with the same number on the field at the same time. And generally it's like then an offense and a defensive guy, because you wouldn't want two guys that ever could be on the field at the same time. But like to have, a punter and a quarterback, sure, they wouldn't normally be, but in this case, you could do it. And even if you announce it beforehand, it's my understanding that the punter still didn't change his number. He was still 80 for this game. So if that's the case, how are you supposed to know when he comes out on the field? I mean, I looked them up. One guy's a couple inches shorter, but, basically otherwise build, skin tone, you wouldn't really know, like with a helmet and pads on. So unless they, if you want to say they both change numbers, that's fine. But to have two guys with the same number who could, pass for one another that's not in the spirit of the rule, I don't think.
And it was pretty long fourth down too. I think like 4th and 6. So it's not like it was like they just needed a couple yards. Like he had to throw it past the sticks or good ways to pick up the first down. So I'm thinking too. Yeah, why would they try a fake punt on 4th and 6? That's quite a long throw. And sure, yeah, just kind of a genius though. The more I think about it, like, I mean, just what a. And then did people talking about you too? Great publicity. I mean, maybe great publicity. Any publicity is great publicity, right? But
yeah,
not good for people who had Northwestern plus 14.5.
There you go. But I'm saying in the end, those were 10 yards of the 482 that USC posted on Northwestern. So that was the bigger problem. And Northwestern's offense not particularly great either in this game. Again, this was I don't know if you want to call it a trap game or, hey, particularly trouble spot for Michigan as we looked at their schedule, maybe in September. I'm much more confident in Michigan winning this game at this point. But again, we'll have another podcast later this week after talking to Sharon Moore tomorrow, and players and assistants throughout the week, and
an analyst
and a deeper dive on Northwestern as we go. So we will see, and we'll come back with more on that matchup.
Yeah, I was worried about this Northwestern game a few weeks ago, unsure about what the weather situation was going to look like at Wrigley Field on Saturday, because you don't know what type of weather you're going to get. I mean, we got snow today in Michigan, but look at the weather forecast right now. We're looking at 61 and cloudy, no rain, very little wind. So the ideal weather conditions are going to be pretty good Saturday as of now. So that's certainly going to favor Michigan.
That's still a long way away. A lot of time for that to change.
There is, yeah. And I guess I don't want to jinx it. Yes, but it's reflective in the point spread. Michigan opened, I think it's a 9.5 point favorite today. It's up to 10 already. There'll probably be double-digit favorites heading into Saturday, and that's about right.
Well, we'll have full coverage leading up to that game on MLive.com/Wolverines. Thanks for listening.